to what's on fire. With a population of nearly 500,000, Mesa is the 39th largest city in the United States and continues to grow. The economic and business development continues to grow as well. With that growth, Mesa's fire marshal works with business owners to ensure timely, affordable, and safe ways for that expansion to occur. Rich, thanks so much for joining me.
Hi, it's my pleasure.
Now, I know some businesses might be a little bit leery about calling your office. They think that your office is going to ask a lot of them, whether it's time or money. But what's the main goal for your office when working with business owners?
Clearly we want to keep them in business. About 75% of the businesses that do have fires don't open back up, and that's really, really important to us to make sure that the businesses stay open.
And the idea is captured in the 3 E's of prevention.
Correct, and that's engineering, enforcement, and education.
Let's go ahead and take a look at engineering.
Right. Okay, engineering is actually when a business owner will go to the Building and Sustainability Department and submit plans for either their improvement or their new building. Those plans are going to be looked at by the fire plan reviewer for things like the sprinkler systems, the different materials they're used to build, the access, certain water supply issues, and to make sure that generally that all the fire safety equipment is designed into the building.
Okay, and those would all be codes that are part of the City of Mesa that need to be met by the business owners?
Correct, it would be the building code, the mechanical code, and the fire code.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about the enforcement side.
On the enforcement side, and we don't generally like the enforcement title, we generally look at it as a partnership. The fire department will go out on a biannual or triannual schedule to do a maintenance inspection. And traditionally what we're looking for are just those maintenance issues like blocked exiting or exit signs are not there, are in the wrong place, or the bulbs are out. But sometimes we find things that end up costing the business a lot of money, like they don't have sprinklers in the right place. They put walls in positions they shouldn't have put because they did a tenant improvement. And those are the things that we would hope that we could get ahead of by having business owners come to us early in the process so we can help them with a strategy on making those changes so it doesn't cost them money later once the contractors have actually left their job.
Okay, and that last D I know is education, and being in fire and life safety education. I know what that means for us, but how does education affect and what does that mean for prevention?
The education part is very important for us to, in regards to working with the fire and life safety folks, because we can provide statistics to that group that helps them focus their efforts in providing community safety programs.
Now, I understand we're standing in Trey Bella, one of the downtown Mesa businesses, and they recently underwent some renovation and expansion. So can you tell me a little bit about the process they were involved in?
Absolutely. They actually wanted to add a new business to their current business plan. So in order to do that, they had to expand it into a space that really wasn't designed for what they wanted to do. They wanted to move into what we call a B occupancy, which was just a general business with a low occupancy, and they wanted to create an A, which would be an assembly, which would allow for a lot of people. That building didn't have a lot of the safety features that it needed, so by having us come in, we're able to discuss those changes and the additions they would need to make prior to spending the money and making sure it was the appropriate facility for them.
Okay, and we actually have business owner Jim Gleason here with us today to talk a little bit about how that process was for you working with the fire marshal's office. Jim, thanks for being with us.
Oh, it's my pleasure. My pleasure to be here.
Now, did you call the fire marshal's office initially, or how exactly did that process begin?
Well, we actually own a business, Premier Events, which occupies a building on Main Street, and we had the opportunity, the building next to us became vacant. And we had an idea for a startup business that was different from what we were currently doing, but weren't sure what it was going to take and if we had what the city would require us to do to bring the building up to code, and just some different questions. And the building owner actually has good connections with the city, and he actually put us in touch with some of the folks with economic development, who then told us that the best people to get involved would be building safety and fire, because those were the main issues that we would have with the current space as it was. when we called the fire department, we actually were put in touch with Rich, and Rich came down with some other officials from the city, and we were able to walk the space. And initially, there were some definite things that needed to be changed right away. And the biggest concern was that the building didn't have sprinklers. And based on the building and the fact that it was a startup, we didn't have a ton of startup capital put aside to necessarily just put into the space. When we were just trying to see if it would be feasible. And the fire department was great in order to help us come up with some ideas. And we kind of lucked out in some ways because the building, the way it is set up, allowed for, and it was, I think, through Chapter 13, which allows you to, the building code, which allows for some certain exceptions based on the building. Because the building it's an old building. It's got to be one of the original Mesa buildings. It's over 100 years old. So that being said, we also didn't want to change the building a ton. And with Rich's help, he really came up, obviously there were changes that, without having to necessarily go to the huge expense of the sprinkler system, which would allow us to open and get that change of occupancy done.
So this is a prime example of how starting before going into remodeling or renovating a building, starting with the fire marshal's office really makes a difference and can benefit the business in the long run.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And like I said, we like to look at this more as a partnership than anything else with the businesses. It's important for the fire department, it's important for the city to have businesses that are open, that are thriving, and if we can help them overcome some of those hurdles early on when they're coming here or trying to expand, that's really what we're here for. This relationship is also very important to the fire department also because we want to know who we're dealing with, who owns the building, we think it's important that we have a relationship to where we can come in every 2 years and not be adversarial. I don't want people to think that we're actually going to close them down. That is the absolute last thing that we want as a fire department or as a city. There are many, many different alternatives we can look at in regards to the code, to timelines, but ultimately we want a safe building for the citizens of Mesa, for the business owner and the customers they invite inside, and for our firefighters who may actually respond to a call at that location.
Rich, that's a really good point. You really are working for this to be a long-term relationship with the business owners.
Absolutely, that's very important to us.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for both being with me today. Thank you so much, Jim and Rich.
Thank you.
And if you have any questions, please log on to mesaaz.gov/fire/prevention. You'll find a Q&A section as well as many other helpful tools. Thanks for watching this edition of What's on Fire. We'll see you next time. So we just talked.